So I'm here with Sarah Coburn, soprano, and Morris Robinson, bass, and you guys will be starring together in an upcoming version of Rigoletto in October. So we could begin just by, if you could, I just introduced you, but maybe introduce yourselves and what you've been doing recently. And yeah.
You first.
Sarah?
Hey, who, me? Oh, well, my name is Sarah, and I have been quarantining with my 3 children since March, except now they're in school, which is great. They just finished 4 weeks, and there have been no incidences of sickness, so that's great. So what else? I was singing in Kansas City when all of this happened, doing Lucia di Lammermoor. So that's the last thing I really did on stage. We had to cancel our final 2 performances. So most of my spring engagements, all of them actually after that, were canceled. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be an interesting production, for sure, to say the least, but it's going to be fabulous to get back out and to really sing something live, something that I love, that I adore, in a strange, situation that we're going to do it, but it's going to be really cool, I think. I hope. I'm sure. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Morris, where were you? Were you doing Porgy and Bess when this was all going down?
I just finished Porgy and Bess. By the way, I'm Morris Robinson. I'm a bass. I get to kill Sarah in the show, so don't hurt me. I'm just letting you know in advance. That's what's going to happen. So I'm not supposed to. We still trying to figure this out. I probably shouldn't say this live, but we can't figure out when last we sang together, but I don't think it was this.
No.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it as well. I had just finished Porgy and Bess in Atlanta, and I was in Dallas about to start rehearsal for my first King Filippo in Verdi's Don Carlo. I was on the Inquisitor quite a bit, so I've been working on Filippo for like a year and a half. I was ready to go, and they called and said, "Hey, Morris, I know you just got in town. Don't come to rehearsal." Okay. The next day, like, "Yeah, we're going to hold off from rehearsal again today, so just sit tight and what you know." And then on the third day, they were like, "Go home." So, yeah, that's what happened, and I've been home ever since, spending time with the family, my dog. Got my boat. I redid my boat. Been doing a lot of boating, which is kind of a cool thing you can do to practice social distancing, but also have some fun. But, I think, like you, Sarah, I'm looking forward to the psychological aspect of getting back on stage. Like, it's when you do something for a living and you don't get a chance to do it, you feel kind of worthless. You feel like, what am I here for? So it's like psychologically, I need to be on stage. I need to be making music with you guys. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Morris, where are you from and where are you located? Because Sarah, you're from Oklahoma originally and have worked with the Tulsa Opera before, but I don't know much about your background, Morris.
Yeah, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but I live in a little town called Tyrone, Georgia, about 20 miles south of the Atlanta airport. So I'm nestled away here in kind of the country. It's really quiet and just close enough to get to the city, but really close to the airport, so I can always get in and out and have to go to gigs. So yeah, never been to Oklahoma. I was at Oklahoma once, I think. I was at the University of Southeastern Oklahoma in Durant, Oklahoma, where I did my very first master class back in 2010. It's the only time I've ever been. So looking forward to it.
You'll like Tulsa. It's really cool. And you're coming at a really beautiful time of year.
Really?
There are really neat places to go and things to do. So I think you'll enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
I don't know how much of that will be open with the social distancing, but it's still a great place to hang out. And
gathering place. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You have good barbecue there? That's important to me.
Yes, very good barbecue.
Yeah. Beef ribs or pork ribs?
Both.
Yeah. What's your favorite barbecue, Sarah?
Beef ribs.
Sorry. I'm gonna say I grew up with beef ribs. I do like pork ribs. I don't eat that much barbecue, but if I had to choose, I like pulled pork.
Do you have a favorite barbecue restaurant in Tulsa?
No.
No,
I usually go for Indian or Thai. That's kind of my
first.
Sorry.
And then
we have great Indian and Thai in Tulsa as well. So.
I think people would be interested in hearing about some of the background stuff, like, you train, you go to school or a conservatory to learn how to sing opera. It's very disciplined, but then how do you guys land productions or land gigs? Because essentially you work for yourself, right? And then you get signed up to do various performances around the country. So I was just curious how that process works, that background process.
It's a long process. When you're young, it takes a while. Then you have a manager. If you find a manager that wants to work with you, and they are the ones who arrange auditions and opportunities that you can say yes or no to.
I had a non-traditional process and trajectory into the opera world, so it was less long, but probably more challenging because I came into the world. I started studying at the age of 30, and I entered a program where everyone had their master's degree in music already. So I just, I learned a lot on the fly. I was very fortunate enough to be in the hands of really good people that could teach me really quickly and have the aptitude to absorb it and return it. So, and then I was at BU for 2 years, and then I was in the med program for 3 years and got management. So I had 5 years of preparation before I got a manager. And they go out and seek opportunities for you. And I mean, Sarah will tell you, just like anyone else, you know, they sell you at first, and once you get out in the market, you sell yourself. So once they hear what you can do, it's a lot less selling and a lot more. So what date do you need them again? So hopefully that's how it goes for, you know, that's the luxury we all aim to be in. So that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. And Sarah, how did you find your passion for opera and get involved?
Well, it's been interesting because when you start having lots of babies and you start saying no, and people stop asking. So you have to start saying yes again. You know, I started pretty early, but which, you know, I'm a little bit envious of the later start, because when you really have your stuff together and you go out and you make those first impressions, then people say, oh yeah, you're ready for a career. There are way too many people that are beginning too early and going out there and putting themselves out there when they're not technically or vocally mature enough, or basically psychologically mature enough. So I started pretty early, 23, 24, my very first real professional gig was 24 at Florida Grand Opera. And I laugh about it because I couldn't even rent the car for the gig. They had to sign the thing for the car rental. I was too young. And I was very green, and I was very green. I jumped into singing major roles in small companies right off the bat. And it was great training for me, but I did go out there pretty petrified at the beginning. And I've dealt with performance anxiety for years. And that was something that's been a real challenge to kind of push through as a young singer who was still trying to find out who they were as a person at the same time as having that confidence to just throw yourself out on stage when you're still really working through your technique and learning those things. And for me, after having 3 different pregnancies and first year of having a baby, those technical challenges really start to add up, and exhaustion adds up, and hormones and age and all of those things. So it's a very hilly journey, I would say, for women, mothers who are trying to continue singing also while traveling with your children, which I did for years. So I've traveled a lot less in the last probably 5 years. My kids are 11, 8, and almost 5. So I'm pretty much home most of the time. But my journey was kind of, you know, it kind of peaked when my firstborn was able to go with me on the road all the time, but I've kind of had to make some choices in that. So,
and you got to live both worlds, you know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels cool. Sometimes it feels a little psychotic.
Well, you know, I've enjoyed this time at home with my kid. He never travels with me. He's been in 2 shows with me, but the opposite is, you know, when you're the man and you're singing, you know, the family stays behind, and, you know, mom takes care of the kid, and she has to sacrifice a lot so that I can give him a sense of normalcy, but I'm on the road and I miss everything. So for the first time in his life, I've been around for everything, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to survive, because I think they're all tired of me at this point, but including the dog. But there is I think, you know, balance is really difficult in our business, you know, so that's a very challenging aspect. So you figured it out. I figured, you know, with the invention of technology, obviously you can make the world a lot smaller place. So communication is very easy. But back to your other point about getting out early and exposing yourself and having to, you know, not be technically or psychologically ready for what you need to display on stage. I always talk to young people about this because with the event of a camera and an iPad and an iPhone, you can put things out there really early, you know, and kind of self-sabotage yourself. And I think that a lot of people don't take in consideration that singing in front of a lens is not nearly the same thing as singing in front of people. So, and those are two different worlds. You know, when you have a lens, you can do a retake and you can listen to it and edit it and say, I don't like that, I'm gonna do it again, you know. But, you know, reality is live bullets. There's no second chances. So hearing that crowd noise, I think, you know, for you and I at this point, I think it's more invigorated than anything. But but we still have our, you know, psychological issues too, because if everything isn't working just right, you know, it makes me a little antsy. So
yeah, absolutely.
So how rigorous and competitive and challenging is this profession? Because I don't think people view it the same way as maybe they view like ballet or other art forms that are known as being, you know, physically trying and so competitive that often it's very cutthroat. But I'm curious about opera and sort of that aspect of it. How hard is it on your body, and how challenging is it moving forward and moving up in that world?
I'd say perseverance is the main thing that people need in terms of making it. I think there's a lot of mediocrity out there that just persevered. You know, I mean, it doesn't sound very nice, but it's true. I mean, really, there are a lot of talented singers who gave up because of the patience you have to make it through all of these years of waiting, especially if you're one of the larger voices who has to wait to sing that repertoire until they're in their 30s. It's difficult to wait. So I would say perseverance really is the key to having a career. I think a lot of people give up early in that, but it is rigorous and it is very competitive, but there's quite a bit of work at the regional level, or there has been, and I hope there will continue to be in the United States, which is where most of my career has been. So I think that, you know, it's a balance, how much you're willing to really stick it out and deal with rejection and deal with the stresses and the life changes and all of that. I don't know. Morris, what do you think?
I think that it's more competitive for certain voice types than it is for others.
Absolutely.
So at the age of 30, if I had been like a soprano, I probably wouldn't have had a career because just the sheer numbers, you know, I remember getting an audition tape box at Boston University. I was carrying up to Sarah for Sharon when you actually used to sit in audition tapes. And she had a box of like 300 tapes. 180 of them were sopranos. About 80 of those were tenors. You know, there was a nice assortment of mezzos, maybe 15, 20 baritones, and like 2 basses. So, but you know, when you're all vying for the same top spots at the very few A houses in the world, it gets really, really, really competitive. And the differences between a regional singer and a, you know, international singer, maybe this much, you know, and sometimes the pendulum swings in favor of the one that's having the big career or the other way. But then it comes down to marketing, backing, whatever the choices are for people that want to hire you. So it's ultra, ultra, ultra competitive. I mean, it's like making it to the NBA or making it to the NFL. It's that competitive, and that the amount of people that desire to study coming out of high school and then go into the college level and do undergrad and then go to graduate school, you know, you have a huge pool of people, and that pool just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The closer you get to the top, there's a pyramid. So it gets really, really competitive. And that's discouraging. So like Sarah says, you know, a lot of times it's about perseverance and waiting it out, you know, and the problem with that is you have to be practical because you have to earn a living while you're doing so. So patience doesn't really equal practicality when you have to pay bills. And then you have patience and practicality, and then you have location, which a lot of times people try to jumpstart their careers in New York. So you can't be patient and out of work and practical trying to play New York rent. So it's, you know, all those things come into play, and everything really has to align correctly for you to be able to be one of the few chosen, and then you have to be chosen. So even if you're in that pool of chosen, then you got to be the chosen one. So it's difficult. Sometimes
it's luck. I mean, sometimes it's just luck. You'll get into a situation where you have a lucky break or a lucky coordinator. You need the right person at the right time.
Right. Right.
and being prepared when that opportunity presents itself, you know. So,
Yeah. So let's talk about this upcoming performance of Verdi's Rigoletto, and which characters are you guys playing to start off?
it's easy.
That's a difficult question.
innocent, pure Gilda, very young, yes. Yes, young daughter of Rigoletto. He's sheltering her and cocooning her away from the dark, menacing world, and at the end, it backfires, thanks to Sparafucile.
Not my fault.
Whatever, you're so noble. You get the only laugh of the night when you say, you know, what am I, a robber?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's.
You get the nervous knuckle.
Well, you know, I'm Sparafucile, and I'm the hired assassin who her dad hires to kill the guy that is shooting her. And apparently, this guy is so dynamic and so wonderful that my sister, who is also my my Bunny and Clyde person, she falls for him as well and begs me not to kill him. So, you know, I'm an honorable killer. I don't want to go with that deal, but because she's really, really pleading with me, I end up saying, okay, I'll kill whoever comes in next, and end up killing the wrong person. So,
but it's my fault.
Why is it your fault? Because you're going in and chasing
my life. I hear you say it. I sacrificed my
it,
husband, an absolute jerk, but I can't help it because he was the first one that ever really ignited any kind of womanly passion within me. And so even when I'm watching him betray me right in front of my eyes, I can't help it because it's like watching a car wreck that I can't take my eyes off. I'm still, you know, it's a magnet. So I have to die for him.
I feel like anybody watching this has to go see it now. You guys are really building.
Well, I don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to be standing on the bases. Yes. So I asked him, I said, can I sign something that says, I don't mind if I catch COVID from Morris, if I run by him and let him stab me?
And I've been practicing my my ninja knife throwing so I can stab you from across
the room. A long pole.
Yeah, talk about some of the technical aspects of this. I don't know if the actual production side has began, but have you guys been doing rehearsals virtually?
We have no clue. No clue.
Until October 4th.
We have no clue. And the crazy part is she's done this role, I presume, quite a bit, and I've done the other one quite a bit. So Jim Robinson, who is a wonderful director, is going to, you know, he's a veteran. We're veterans. We all know the story. We know the show. We've done it a million times. So it'll be interesting to see how he plugs it all in and makes it work. One thing I will say, and we haven't worked together, we can't remember when we did, but when you're working with people that are veterans, you know, one thing that we always stick to, I believe, is the authenticity of telling the story correctly. And if that requires sacrifice, if that requires a bit of uncomfort to get the story across, we're going to do that. So we don't know what we're going up against, and we don't know what we're going to face, but I'll guarantee you this, we're going to figure out a way as professionals to tell this story the way it was intended to be told, in the right way. And that's all I can say, you know?
Yeah. And it's a fabulous story to be told. It's really, it's my favorite opera because it's so dramatically through composed, and it's musically through composed, and it's so, it just gets you from the very beginning. You don't feel that feeling of choppy, end of an aria, everybody applaud, next scene. It all just moves with high drama the whole night. So if a first timer, it's the perfect opera for a first timer, even at the baseball field.
Yeah, it has a lot of hit tunes in it too, so people are going to recognize things that they hear on Ragu commercials and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
And what was it? I had a specific question about the opera. Now it's just gone. What about the sort of that marriage of story and music? Because that's something I wanted to ask about, that somebody could completely, like I studied literature, for example, and you might have read a libretto or read the story, and there's that whole side of things. And then there's the music side of things. And then your job as performers is to make those two come together. So there's performative aspects that other musicians might not encounter in their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. In opera, we're always telling a story, but this one happens to be very well written, and it's based on Victor Hugo's Le Roi s'amuse, which is a really interesting play. then when Verdi did it, he had to deal with all the censors and make it a little bit more benign in terms of the criticism of monarchy. But it's a fabulous story to tell, and it's a pleasure to be able to do that with music at the same time. I mean, it's an honor and a real privilege to be able to.
I thought I'm sorry. No, that's one of the reasons people call opera the highest form of expressive art, because there's the musical aspect, there's the linguistic and storytelling aspect of it, the drama, and some kind of way you got to be able to combine all that stuff in one, and we're gonna do our thing. So looking forward to it. It's not difficult when you're trying to do it. What's that? It's
the highest art form, but it's absolutely accessible. It's available to everyone. There's nothing about it that is snooty. It's pure art and all of its majesty coming together. Everything.
I always bring people to opera that have never been before. If I'm in Tulsa, for instance, and I go to the barbershop to get my beard done, if I tell somebody, I usually invite those kind of guys to the show. I'll invite guys I meet at the gym to the show. They'll bring their girlfriends or their wives, and they walk away. They go in with trepidation and intimidation, so to speak, always saving the fact that they know the guy that's playing a role, so they feel a little bit more comfortable. By the time it's over with, they're like, why haven't I done this before? This is better than going to the movies. This is so great. And, it really is accessible. And I think that it is our job also to make sure that people understand that, you should come out and give it a shot. Give it a try it. Experience it, because it is really a beautiful art form. It's like going to the movies, but it's a better soundtrack, and it's live. So. And
we won't be wearing horns.
Yeah, we won't be wearing. There's no fat lady. There's a fat guy. No fat lady.
Although we're singing with earbuds.
Are we really?
Yeah, I've never done that. Oh, sorry. I've never done it, Morris. I don't know how.
No.
I remembered my question. It was if this performance has a baseball theme or a baseball twist, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Any details there? Or?
We have no idea.
They don't ask me to throw anything or catch anything.
Hey, I'm all about throwing and catching, but I don't know what we're gonna do. Maybe I'm gonna beat you with a baseball bat. I don't know. What you thrilled about that?
Morris, things are coming full circle from you, from football to opera, back on a sports field for this performance. So
yeah. Well, I can just say I feel comfortable walking out in front of folks, whether I'm putting on a helmet and go battle some other 300-pound guy, or whether I'm walking out to sing.
You can kill me.
All relative. What's that?
You can kill me with a baseball bat.
I would never hurt you, and you know that. I'm a professional.
No, Sparafucile.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. Maybe I get to beat you with a baseball bat. That's what I was referring to.
Oh, perfect.
As the character, yeah.
Yes.
But no, you wouldn't have to fear your life. But no, I think that it's a natural. People think that coming from a sports background and entering the opera world is so far apart. It really isn't. I mean, every athlete you've ever met that has made it to certain status has always tried to make an R&B or a rap album or a rock album or a country album. So, we always have that music in us. I think that being out in front of people and performing is part of the nature of the beast of people that are athletes and people that are performers. So it feels kind of cool to be on the baseball field. Last year, I think I performed actually on the football stadium in Santa Barbara, California, when I did the Beethoven Ninth at the New York Field. And it was like walking down the football field. I was like, damn, I'm out here on the 50-yard line. Oh, so, so yeah.
It is athletic. And sometimes when I'm watching figure skaters, I think we are so similar. Of course, I can't ice skate. But when you watch someone right before a jump, I think that's exactly how I feel right before a really difficult high note or a really difficult passage. I think that's got to be the same way they feel, that the feeling of either you're going to make it or break it.
Yeah.
That focus, and I don't know.
As you mentioned earlier, that perseverance or discipline that comes along with the task.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, Morris, I had a question. An article came out, I believe now, just 4 days ago. Black scholars confront white supremacy in classical music, and your name is mentioned in that. And one of your comments made in that article, with the events of this summer and Black Lives Matter, all this social consciousness, what are the fine arts? What needs to happen to change in those organizations? And can you speak to that, son?
Well, I made a comment that I literally was sitting at the same table in a Zoom meeting, and we were talking about race relations and that type of thing. And I said, what I find interesting in this business, and I'll repeat it because it's the truth, I've never been hired by a Black person, never been conducted by a Black person, never been directed by a Black person, never had a Black stage manager, and never had a Black general manager, CEO, or president of the board, ever. And they don't exist in our world. So it just kind of leads to the disparity in representation at the levels where decisions are being made. People will argue that the talent pool doesn't contain such, and I would argue that the talent pool is there. You just have to go out on a limb and try it. So, you know, has it hurt me in my career? I don't know, you know, but I'm very blessed and fortunate to be one of the people that's, you know, had a very, very steady and busy career for my entire career. But that doesn't mean that I'm representative of the normalcy. If you look at the ratios of people that study this art form and the demographic mix versus the amount that actually get to perform on stages in the demographic mix, it is skewed and it is off. And it doesn't make sense, you know, even logically, that there is no fair representation at a certain level. So, you know, no one's asked to be given something that they don't deserve. I think that there are lots of deserving talent out there. We have to open up our minds to embrace that, because, you know, if we are to survive as an art form, and if we are to be diverse in our audiences, then we're going to have to be more open-minded to putting things in place that attract that level of diversity. So people are very comfortable in coming to see and associate with that with whom they can relate. And we don't have that very often on the operatic stages. You know, it doesn't just take Porgy and Bess to bring a bunch of Black folks in. For me to say it again, you know, I've sung Zarastro, Zaccaria, Ferrando, I've done everything, but that's not the norm. And it needs to be more norm, not that you have to do everything, but it needs to be more norm, more equitable. And we need to feel as though someone that's at the table having the discussion is speaking with everyone's best interest in heart, not just the few. So that discussion has turned into a whole thing, and I'm glad that this conversation is taking place. And I'm looking forward to a lot of changes happening, not just in our business, but, you know, across a lot of different platforms related to the arts. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer to that question.
I wasn't prepared for that, but, you know, I'll
Well
speak.
said.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
In the span of your own career, have you seen some changes? And moving forward, do you see the industry heading in a more diverse and more inclusive direction?
I've seen changes, you know, since my starting out in 1999, but, you know, there's always been Black artists. Yeah. There just hadn't been a superfluous amount of them representative of, again, that dynamic range and the ratios. But I've seen a change. I've not seen a change, but, you know, I've seen a change on stage. And this is the thing, we talk about diversity, and we really are about optics with diversity. As long as we can put a few people out that they can look a certain way, then everything kind of remains as is. But when you start talking about inclusiveness and you start talking about engagement, then you have to take it to another level. You know, we don't want to just do things that are optically pleasing. We want to do things that are the right thing to do. And there's enough talent out there in the business community and business schools, former singers that are, you know, deep into their careers, that have enough knowledge of the business that we should be able to run things. So there's no reason why, you know, in Atlanta, Georgia, we don't have anybody on staff that looks like me, or New York for that matter, because of the demographics. So we're working towards those things, and we'll figure it out, you know, but I'm glad that we're having these conversations. And for you to ask that question, especially in Oklahoma, of all places, and I'm in Georgia, it's a good sign that this is at least a level of consciousness that it's being paid attention to, and a conversation that we have to continue to perpetuate and keep it in motion. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for such a thoughtful answer on that. And
appreciate it.
Sarah, I have a question for you. Coming from Oklahoma, specifically regarding Tulsa, what changes need to take place here with the fine arts and opera? Because I think when you say Tulsa, you know, opera, ballet, a symphony orchestra, these aren't the first things that come to people's mind, but we have these institutions here. And after a long time, I believe Tulsa Opera is, 72 years old now.
Oh, wow.
So what can this city do to develop its arts and really grow those?
For me, you know, I'm not that involved right now in any kind of artistic endeavor other than singing. But if I were to think about what I think the answer is, really across the board in terms of a diverse audience, a diverse administration, a diverse, just the entire art form itself, I think it begins in elementary school with making with outreach and by showing children that this is something that's for you. It's not just something for rich old white ladies with their pearls on, you know, I mean, really. And if you start early and you say, look at this is an amazing thing, you could be a part of this someday. I think that's where it begins, by making it accessible at an early age and showing children of all stripes that this is something you could be a part of, and all different levels of the art form. So I feel like that's really where it needs to begin. I know that's kind of a idealistic answer, but in my mind, if I were to think like in Tulsa, what would be the answer? I think it would be starting young, outreach.
Definitely in Oklahoma, there are a lot of issues when it comes to education and arts
Yeah.
education. So
Yes.
we have a lot of work to do here.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, one of the most incredible directors I've ever met and worked with, I think he's from Tulsa. You know Thaddeus Strasberger? You know Thaddeus?
I don't know him personally, but I know the name.
Yeah, he's like a huge director. He lives in London, but he directed this Nabucco that I was a part of, and he has all kinds of shows all over the world. He's like one of the really hot and up and coming, really actually established directors on the globe. And he's from Oklahoma, so.
Well, don't be shocked. We're fabulous.
So you did football and opera, right?
We have a lot of amazing beauty queens and tenors.
Well, you know, I'm partial to the SEC, and I'm from Georgia. And if I remember correctly, last time you all played us, I think we lost. So.
Oh, whatever.
I'm going to be carrying that chip on my shoulder the whole time I'm there. So y'all just remember that. Okay?
To deal with the Big 12.
They're right.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for taking the time to speak with me, and I look forward. I hope I can make it out to your performance on October 9th. And
after this interview, you got to come, dude. What are you talking about?
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Anything else you two would like to add before closing it up?
Play ball. We'll see y'all.
Take me out to the ballpark. Is it ball game or ballpark? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I play football. I didn't play baseball. So yeah. All right. See you later.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye. Look forward to seeing you, Sarah.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.